Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. A new camera angle here. I tried to try the side camera when streaming, so it's going to be a little weird making YouTube videos this way at first. But today's topic is why we don't have gameplay in Star Citizen, and it's not actually a question. Hey, why don't we? It sort of will be, but right now we got on SCL this week with Todd Pappy and Richard Tyrer, we sort of got the answer of why the missions and gameplay elements of Star Citizen are repetitive and lacking and could be described as boring. So I'm going to play a clip of Todd Pappy discussing the question to them at the time was like, why are trolleys and mounted guns not being utilized by other teams, I think. And this was the answer for Todd Pappy in relation to 313. And it's kind of a situation where I hear what he's saying, but there's not countless, but there's quite a few situations where what he's saying is not what they've done. So let's have a listen. Or actually, you'll have a watch.
The way that our teams work, so a lot of times Rich is developing these new features, and then the content teams that I work with are about exploiting those features and using them in different ways. So usually what we do is, because you can see obviously they're still working on it, meaning they're still fixing bugs, they're still working through some of these issues. Where we're at in the quarter, so I can't say, okay, this is exactly how we're going to use these things until I actually get the feature and we can play around with it in missions or even just in sandbox experiences. So with these things, most of the time that Rich's teams are developing these things, we want them used in sandbox experiences. So you're coming around and you get to a location, you're like, oh, I want to use this or I want to use that. But with missions, we need time to actually implement them into missions and be able to build missions around these features. So that's kind of how we work. We work in a staggered development. So Rich and his team develop these things, put them out, and then my teams take some time and basically implement them into sandbox experiences as well as missions.
Okay, so yes, that's pretty much how it is working for what it seems like mounted guns, for what it seems like trolleys, for what it seems like caves. So like for example, we had caves, but we had no missions in the caves, and we had no rewards. But there's a number of things, and we talked about this on my stream yesterday, that aren't as new, that have come into the game and are not being utilized by the mission team, that are still not working and not bug fixed, but they moved on to other things. For example, body dragging. We drag the body, it either disappears too quickly or we can't drag it because we keep losing connection with the body for random reasons. Sorry, let me turn alerts off. And the harvestables is another one, not utilizing those within missions somehow. So there's lots of situations in the game that these items are being put in, but then not utilized by the content teams or the mission teams or things like this. So for me, there are some possible easy wins that CIG could do to make things better. From a variety standpoint and from a just better gameplay loop standpoint and just better game to play if they actually go by what Todd just said, and it doesn't seem like they do. So the question here really is, why? Why are we not utilizing something like harvestables or body dragging in missions yet? Is it just because they're buggy? Well, then why didn't we fix them instead of just leaving them there like most of the features of Star Citizen. That's sort of the problem of it being this live environment plus adding things in a tier 0 state and not taking advantage of them and fleshing them out a bit more so they can be part of the missions. That's my question. Why? I'm not going to sit here and armchair develop and say, you should add this thing and imagine that thing. It's straight up just, there's a disconnect between what he's saying and what they're doing, and I'm sure there's some prerequisite as to why we don't have those. But without further ado, let's get to the callers, see what they think about this. This just is something that really bothered me about that show, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. So, all right, let's bring Henrik on the line here. Henrik, welcome. Can you hear me?
Thank you. What's up? Yeah, I can hear. Yeah.
So what do you think about what Todd said? My thoughts, again, most people know Henrik that watch the show now. Henrik is actively, going to school for programming, wants to get into game development. So what do you think about this?
I think some of the problem is they don't have the tools they need for making the collection system for it, or something else they are needing. For example, if we are taking the eco development we have made the last couple of days, when we are making those missions for, you can get 150 gold for the government a day.
So just so it's clear, I'll help try to explain it a little bit, because most people probably don't know the game Eco that are watching this. There's a game called Eco, and you can create missions as a player for other players. So it's sort of the beacon system, but in another game.
Yeah.
So they sort of have the tools, Henrik.
They sort of have the tools, but I don't think they can say, when you are picking up in this location, you have to either store this item in a different backpack or something where you can differentiate the items from where you are picking it up.
Yeah.
So this is an item, a mission item, and this is something you bought at New Babbage, for example, with the fruits.
Sure. But you can also find them.
Yeah, of course. And that is where I think they want to say, when you get this mission, you are not allowed to go and buy it from the store out there. You have to go out and pick them up, and that is why they they are not able to make those missions.
Yeah, because they don't have the tools to do stuff like that. That makes sense.
Yeah,
and that's that. If Todd said that, I would be okay with it. But what Todd said was more of the features that are put in are basically tier 0, and when they're not in tier 0, then we'll start, or when they're not even that they're tier 0, is that there's still bugs with them. So we don't want to work with them until we know how exactly they're going to work. And for the two things in 3.13, that seems fair, totally fair, because they just got here. But there's things that have been around for a while that aren't being utilized, so it's kind of hard to take that and be like, okay, Todd, no problem,
For example, body dragging, where you keep getting disconnected, right?
Exactly. So we moved on to other things, but we still have the same issue with body dragging. So I don't know.
And the body dragging issue, I will guess, is the same issue you have with the trolleys. It's simply the same way you connect to the item.
Probably.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
That could be why they put the trolleys in, actually. So that you are easier to get in a position where you are able to use the body drag system.
But how do I use the body drag system to body drag somebody into a trolley and then push a trolley, Henrik? That's the real question.
That was not what I mean. I know, I'm kidding. When you're pushing a trolley, you are using the same system as when you're pushing a body.
But can't you just go backwards and say, well, if you fix the body system, then you would have fixed the bugs with the trolley system now? If you did it back then when you should have?
Maybe, but do they? I don't know. Think they could get enough data on how this bug is actually happening.
True. I mean,
Because
that's something they talk about all the time, right? We're having a hard time reproducing it, things like that. And now this is like it's being produced on both the mounted guns and the trolleys, right? They're constantly getting disconnected.
Yeah, and that would probably give them enough data to figure it out. So, because one of the hardest bugs to find is these bugs
Yeah.
we are talking about right now. It is those where your game doesn't crash, but something that shouldn't happen is happening.
Yeah.
And where the hell in the code is that happening? Is it because of some desync between the server and the client, which is one of the hardest if you want to go a step harder?
Yeah.
Because when they are testing it, they have the server and the client on the same computer, so they will almost never get that issue.
Mm-hmm. Which is why they should probably be testing more in the environment that we play in, but yeah.
Yeah, but they don't, because we are playing in it, they don't have the same logging tools and all of those things. They are not able to say, pause the server so I can go in and see what is happening right here.
Yeah.
That is what they are able to on their own developing servers.
Yeah, but then, that's a big problem, though, if they're not able to see those kind of bugs. That explains why we run into the issues that we run into, though, from your perspective, is because it's hard to find those in the situation they're in. But yeah, I mean, the thing that you're mentioning now, sure, okay, and also when it comes to the harvestables, right? The idea of I said we were going to do a timer. I won't do a timer for Henrik, but we'll do it for the rest of the people. I'll keep an eye on sort of how long it's been. But the idea of taking some of the elements of the game and applying them more towards the mission team, like, as far as priorities go, it's shouldn't this be a priority if we're going to be a game that the devs want us to play or want to be a live service? Like, I don't want to sit here, like, I understand the state of the game.
No.
I understand it's an alpha. I understand all this stuff. Like, I don't need to hear that shit. It's just the idea of it's like a messaging thing from them, and it's the same thing with what Todd just said there. It's just so weird. It's like super clear. Like, missions are just boring. They're the same. They're either deliveries or they're bounties, and there's slight variations in them, but they're still all the same.
Search and rescue mission is the third one.
Yeah.
If they have those any longer. Yeah, I don't have quite the answer there. Why they should? Maybe I think they should prioritize it more, but I don't think they have.
Only they have the answer, and I think that's the thing that Todd's statement, like, resonates with me, is like, well, the thing that we struggle with as backers and as people who, at least backers of like my type, that are not as interested in the emergent stuff. It's more interested in like what is in the game and what the game is telling you to do, like missions and cargo hauling and mining and that kind of stuff, like the actual game. What his statement brings to me is that I don't know why. I still am not communicated why things tend to get prioritized over one another.
For example, why do we not have a mining mission yet?
Yeah, why not? And I feel like Luke has told us why not in chat like years ago, but again, that was years ago. So we have something like mining in the game. We have something like cargo in the game, and they want to do it with the physicalized system, like the physicalized cargoes. I think a lot of the things that they've mentioned in the past is they want to do it with physical cargo, but I don't know, like, there's got to be some easy wins, and quote unquote easy, because nothing's easy, but there's got to be some easy wins for us, the players. And I feel like some of those should get prioritized by the devs.
Yeah, I think the easiest win they could get is kind of tease the or what's he called, the tuberculosis girl, Michiko something
Pacheco.
like that. Yeah, where you're actually able to fly her ship to get out and finish a mission.
Yeah, and that's all gone.
If
And
you have,
they did it, but there was
yeah,
something wrong with it, so they got rid of it, right?
oh, okay, if that doesn't work any longer, then my
No.
idea wasn't a little broken. It's a little broken because the idea was instead of the Cutlass Black, you are getting the what's the not a mining ship to go around and mine something there and
Sure.
get back with it.
Yeah, I think there's some issue with like permissions and who owns it and what other people can do with it and stuff like that. But I'm seeing, like, while you're talking, I'm kind of following Twitch chat, and I've seen a couple people mention reputation, and that is definitely the easy win, and that's not even an easy win. That's what they're prioritizing now. So that's like the obvious one, and that's what they are doing. So if anybody brings up reputation, I don't think there's any argument there that what they're doing right now is like taking the logical steps to make reputation in the game possible. I think they needed to visualize it before they implement it, and that's what they did. So they implemented it sort of with the bounty missions. Next quarter, the UI, and then if we do not see delivery missions and like other things tied to reputation in the following quarter in 3.14, that's when I would start being like, "Yo, what's up? What are we doing here, boys? What are we doing?" You know. So that's when I would be upset.
Is missing, so we can get these kind of interaction.
Exactly.
It's kind of pointless to have a bar going up without seeing, I can now take this mission.
Yep. Exactly. So, yeah. I don't know. It was one of those things that just really stuck out to me. And I, like, when you hear it, did you feel the similar emotions to me? Or were you just more like, yes, I get where he's coming from because I'm in the trenches of programming and I actually understand this.
I'm not that far into that area of the game development.
Yeah.
That I can say anything intelligent about it.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on before we let you go then, Henrik?
Not much. No. Okay. I don't think I have anything more.
We're going to be developing our eco server this week, me and Henrik, so we're excited. Yeah. We're making our own game since we can't play this one. All right, Henrik. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So Henrik was a good and interesting call because like his perspective is nice to hear. Just any game programmer, anybody who works in some sort of development is helpful for somebody like me because I don't. So it makes it helpful. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but let me go ahead and bring in Wrzprfnt. He's got a interesting name. Wurzel, what's up, dude? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Hello. You're a little low for me, so I'm probably going to turn you up here a bit.
Test, hello.
And then we'll change your name on the screen here. If I can find it. There it is. Yeah, so I'll keep raising you and we'll get your stuff right. But yeah, what did you think about what we heard here and Todd's comments and my comments after?
Well, first off, good luck to Henrik. I'm basically kind of at the end of my education journey to becoming a game programmer. I'm like 2 papers and 2 exams away from getting a bachelor's degree in game programming.
Congratulations.
So,
hey, can we get some
thanks.
Can we get some Drakes in chat for Wurzel, please?
I'm not yet done with the studying.
Oh, no claps yet?
And
we're going to clap for you anyway.
Thanks. Anyway, I'm also not going to be able to give you a satisfying answer about the priorities. That's kind of the elephant in the room. and we don't really know much about that.
It's
So
yeah, it comes down to like, wow, his statement it really expresses the disconnect between developer and community communication, and why players like me get frustrated, and why players like me say there's no gameplay.
yeah, and that's why I joined the call today, because I also want to give a little bit of technical insight, but from a very different angle than I've heard so far.
Okay.
So we've had a couple of proclaimed Jesus techs for Star Citizen finally making the game a game.
Yeah.
But the one thing that stops us from having more iterations on some things, in my opinion, is server meshing. As in, not the meshing itself, but a stable frame rate of logic's FPS.
Yeah.
Not graphics, but really the logic of the game has to run stable.
The server
and
FPS,
it
right?
doesn't.
Like the actual server that's running.
Yeah, and it right now doesn't.
Correct.
And that is a huge issue, because everything in Star Citizen has some tie into physics. And physics is so heavily depending on the server FPS. Why? Because we cannot calculate physics accurately. Because game physics, you have forces. And in a force, you can calculate acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
And to get, like the acceleration is the change of speed. So to get the speed from the acceleration, you need to integrate a mathematical function. And that is super expensive in a programming sense. You don't have the calculation time to 100% accurately integrate things. So then you add on top, if you have the speed, you want to get the location. And to get the location, you need to integrate the speed again. So game physics is kind of just like, how accurately can you guess based on the input you have now? So, okay, that's doable. Games have been doing it for years. Now, multiplayer games have another issue. On every machine, it needs to run synchronously.
Yeah.
But the internet is kind of, if you send data across the internet, they can get jumbled up, they can delay, they cannot be constant. So what happens is your client guesses what happens next, and then when the server data comes in, he adapts the guess for the next frame. So it's kind of like a client says, I think that happens, server says, yes, that happens. Client says, I think that happens, server says, yes, that happens. So it's kind of like a three-layered guessing game of getting physics believable.
Okay.
And now, if you have small steps, you can guess rather accurately. But if you have large steps, for example, if someone like accelerates, your client guesses they will keep accelerating. So far still with me?
I actually am. I think you're explaining it really well.
And once your enemy changes direction or stops accelerating, the server relays that information, and your client changes what you see. But if your client has to predict half a second, because we only have like 3-4 logical FPS, the prediction of your client will be wrong for half a second.
Yeah.
So what a game developer needs
jump
to
around, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But then game developers usually go in and just play with the numbers of the predictions until it makes sense and fits.
Yeah.
But the issue is, if we do that now for a delay of half a second, we'll have to do it again for the 30 FPS we want to have.
Yeah.
And some things just won't work when you have to predict for half a second. That's all the desync stuff.
Sure.
And that's, for example, with the body dragging. Why should they now work for half a year to make body dragging smooth, if they even manage to do it, if it will all be for nothing and they have to rechange the predictions and everything again? So it's like game physics is a really big thing when it comes to stable server FPS. And since like almost everything somehow ties into game physics, they bring stuff in there. Especially now, we see more stuff getting in there. We see Dan Truffin's team, for example, with the actual professions, really mapping out where code needs to go with mining, so they then can go to other professions and say, well, we now know where code needs to go, so we just slot in the code for that profession. We see with the trolleys and stuff, more things come online, but they don't allocate sprints to actually making them work because the physics is just not there. Similar thing with AI. AI is also kind of a guessing game for the right decision, which needs to be updated, but that's a whole different topic. So my information I wanted to bring to the table basically is the game physics is really hard to do right for like and it really depends on the server FPS, and some things we just cannot iterate upon until we can get them stable. It's less about them working, but having them stable. Like things that are very obvious for everyone to understand probably is like, you remember when you drove with a Grey Cat over an 600i landing gear, you got catapulted into space? That was a thing for like a patch or two. That's like a collision detection thing. Like, I don't know, the wheel of the Grey Cat clips into the landing gear. The server detects the collision half a second later. They're now overlapping way too hard. And then since it resets them with a way too hard overlap, it gets catapulted into space because the physics is like, oh no, they're overlapping for like 2 wheels distance. They now spring back because they had a very hard crash. That's just depending on the frame rate. It's just, why fix that if the frame rate already fixes that? So I think a really core part is why we're not seeing iteration on some gameplay aspects is because the physics need to be there. So
fair.
So
but what do we do in the meantime?
Logical.
But what do we do in the meantime? And I guess what I'll ask, because it's probably clear to you that it is clear to you that's the case, and you probably don't get frustrated by the state of the game, right? Because of that.
Well, for once, I only joined in 2018 when I actually saw them, or where I actually could feel more tangible progress being made with the quarterly patches.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm half in it for this because I want to see how they do it. It's super interesting, like every aspect from wayfinding to, it's like, oh hey, nice. I know what a pain in the ass that is.
What's your thoughts on the way they communicate the playability of the game? Do you think they set the expectations correctly?
No. That's my biggest gripe. Like, I really feel for the devs, and I can see why it goes so slow, especially with the dynamic server meshing thing. And that's why I'm getting excited right now, these patches, because I see they now have slowly figured out where code needs to go, even if server meshing is not there. So we start seeing more things come in. Like, if I were CIG, I would like throw boatloads of people at Dan Truffin and that entire team to make gameplay loops, but that's a different thing. But the communication
it's
of
the same. It's what we're talking about
playable.
Today, it's not a different thing.
Yeah,
there was a Reddit post of a guy who I somewhat agreed with and didn't, and he really talked about like the number of engineers and designers that are working on key priority features right now versus what the ship pipeline might look like, right? And
I totally agree that it feels off.
Yeah, but does it feel off because of exactly what you're saying? Maybe.
That the thing is, I don't know how many people are actually working on server meshing on the engineer side, and I don't know how many of the mission designers, like those actually making the content, are currently tied up in Squadron. So I having a hard time judging that. But I totally agree that the communication, not necessarily by top happy here now.
I don't like interrupting. I try not to, but that's what the
I'm
roadmap.
A rambler. Go ahead.
No, it's not about rambling. It's like I can help you with that. The new roadmap is the PU feature teams. They are not on
that's a great
Squadron,
improvement.
right? They're not on Squadron. That's why they're labeled like PU. So
yes,
but that's probably why those teams are so small, because they're just for the PU.
Yeah,
right?
the teams are small, and then we don't know where the know-how is. Like, if you have a junior AI programmer, they can work and they can do things, but they might just not be at the level of the senior AI programmer that's sitting in Squadron.
Yes.
So,
okay. Now
now
we're on the same page.
Yeah, I really like the roadmap, and they're getting better at it, but the communication of the marketing of it being a playable game is the biggest thing I disagree, because right now it's they're doing sprints focused on things, putting things into the game, fixing occasional things, but they're not focusing keeping it playable. They're focusing on cramming as much things in as they can while they're still working on server meshing.
Yeah.
So they have no gameplay content pipeline, because the things they're building upon are not finished. Like a usual live service team, you have your engine programmers, you have your graphics guys, you have your AI guys, but you also have a dedicated pipeline making the content with those building blocks.
And that's exactly what Todd said, right? Like, these are not in a state where I know what they're going to be like, so my team can utilize them. Whether it's body dragging, whether it's the trolleys, it seems to be that is the case for everything. And my argument was, why not get them, do your best to get those things in the state, and then you come back at, why would I do my best to get them into the state if the issue with the state is most likely the server performance and nothing else? Yeah.
I really think that once we see stable FPS, a logical FPS for servers, and once we have the stable FPS for servers, they will start doing things with the things they have. I don't know when that will be.
Yep, nobody does.
Like, really. That's the thing that's in the air. I think they can do it from what I can judge of things happening, but it might still be 2 years or something. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be 5, because they're confident enough to start making more gameplay loops and everything. Like, they're laying out the foundations to get stuff in, but they're not doing it right now.
I remember people saying it'll be 2 years when I was on the Redacted podcast.
Oh yeah, but it just wasn't.
Yeah.
Like
this time it feels more realistic that 2 years is a timeline of where we might see something interesting.
I actually
but
think
it felt realistic then too.
It's sooner than 2 years that we see starting things to happen.
Agreed.
It might not feel good until like 3-4 years down the line, because the dynamic server meshing in the way they want to do it is like the messiest server scenario, the most dynamic server scenario I have heard of so far.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm not a network programming guy, so I have a hard time really predicting anything. Like, what I see is the developers.
They have a hard time with it also, obviously. It's not easy.
What I see is the developers right now doing their thing and laying the groundwork. Like, we're no longer in the theoretical design stage of many gameplay loops. We're seeing prerequisites come in. We see UI come in. So there's definitely the groundwork being laid for more player-facing stuff. Like, it's the big thing now is not that every developer has to make their gameplay area compatible with OCS and segment everything into containers, so every branch is doing that. So we still probably have a lot of people working on the server meshing stuff.
Yeah.
But we see they now exist. like we see more of the actor feature teams actually doing things. We see more Dan Truffin actually doing things. They're not like, we want to do that. They're like, yeah, we're doing it slowly now. I don't know when it will ramp up, but they're even if it's just like 3 people, they already have 3 people doing something and no longer like it's hard to put in words. And
I think
don't
you're putting
want
them
to
into.
take up
I think you're putting
too
them
much
into
time.
words really well. Yeah, I think our call's been a little bit longer, but I didn't want to stop it because I thought the way you were expressing your feelings about things was pretty good. And
Thanks.
yeah, and I think it gives me more patience after hearing what you say. It's hard. But
Yeah.
it's hard to hear it, but it is what it is.
I want to give you one analogy you can wield in future discussions, which I thought about. It's like, you remember when they showed off the rivers and the guy was like, this is programmer artwork.
Yeah.
So he just slapped it in so he can demo it.
Yeah.
What we right now have is programmer gameplay, with the gameplay pipeline slowly rearing its head on the horizon. But right now have programmers making things and then just plopping them in so they can show it off. But it's not actually like somebody making something out of it. Well, not much. Like you said, caves are coming along and things, but it's not a priority.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it.
So yeah, game dev is hard to plan, hard to communicate, and with the Star Citizen's need to sell itself as a game to stay funded, it's like, I really feel for the devs,
because they're the ones who
don't
get
like all the rest.
Yeah, the devs are the ones that get like, oh, these guys are dumb. I see that all the time in my Twitch chat, and I feel it sometimes. I'm like, how did they not think of this, or why are they not doing this? And it's always on them, and it's never on like it was marketing setting the expectations incorrectly. It was a miscommunication between Todd Pappy and us on an SCL, and that's not even Todd
mode.
Pappy's fault. It's just a miscommunication. It happens.
Hover mode is the best example of a dev catching so much hate for something he probably didn't communicate correctly, but there was no translation there.
Yeah, good example.
So yeah, I think unless you have any questions or something, I'd make space for the next caller then.
No, and the next caller needs space. He's probably the only caller that's going to get the timer on him, because he can go into imagine mode, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I'll continue studying for the exam next Tuesday, which is game physics.
Good luck. That perfect time to be studying and discussing it. Maybe I hope we helped you absorb some information for your exam.
Oh yeah, the signed distance field stuff is from Star Citizen something I only really realized how it worked by seeing it in Star Citizen, and now this helped me shape my understanding of the network game physics thing, talking about it. So yeah, thanks
Awesome.
for the opportunity.
No problem, man, and I hope we hear from you again soon. Anytime I start losing my way, bring me back. All right?
I can help you with that. We'll see.
All right,
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Thank you. All right. That was Wrzprfnt, if that's the way we say it. That is a difficult name to say. Our next caller is going to be OldManJohnnyMorgan. He's OldManJohnnyMorgan in Twitch chat, but he's Johnny Morgan in Discord. So I'll just put Johnny Morgan up here. I'm typing the name now. Hold on, boys. Before we get him up here. And, yeah. Basically what Wrzprfnt said helps me a lot. It's so hard. I made videos specifically on the subject of, like, if server meshing isn't going to be here, even though this server meshing may not be the, like, I mean, they in the same SCL they kind of hinted at, I hear people saying, just wait for server meshing, everything's going to be good. And even when Jared is the one trying to calm your expectations on something like meshing, that is a signal of like red lights, sirens blaring, that this is going to be a while. And the 2-year statement from Wurzel is tough to hear, especially because literally every year that you're at, add 2 years, and that's when Star Citizen will be done, and that has been the truth since 2014. It's hard to deal with, but it is how it's been. So when you hear that, you're kind of like, all right, 2 years, here we go again. But I think he's on the thing with the physics and the servers, and I've tried to remind myself of this consistently, and it's hard to do sometimes. So all right, let's bring in Johnny Morgan. What's up, Johnny? Can you hear me?
Yep. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How about yourself?
Turn the stream off. I'm good. I'm going to keep it quick because Henrik and Wurzel did a fantastic job of breaking it down.
Do you need a countdown timer?
I do not need a countdown timer because the only thing I really like to talk about is the stuff that you brought up in relation to the sales and marketing and the disconnect it creates between how they kind of treat the game from that perspective as a live service, right? They sell it as that, they pitch it as that, but then the dev, and I think you can see it in Todd's face a little bit, right? They have to be really careful about how they talk about it because then they still have to feed into these other teams that have a job to do. And from my side, like what I would really like to see them do is kind of one of the tenets of that book I was talking about, Platform Scale, which is do things manually, right? They have a live team, they have some people there. From my side, if I got a call from someone, let's say Daniel Hurston, right, in the little example I wrote, I would absolutely answer that, right? And then hopefully it's just someone saying, hey, can you go mine me some gold and I'll pay you some money for it and drop it here. And if I do that, they're just paying attention on their side, right? They can see what I'm doing, etc., right? They can manually implement. They can't touch everyone that way, but that would be very exciting. That'd be really neat. And I think that if they worked a little bit more on acknowledging, yeah, okay, we have these tech debt issues. We have all these things that need to be built. The engineering is still going on in the back end. So, Todd trying to politely say, dude, I would love to give you a flood of content, but if I say that in any way, everyone's going to take that the wrong way.
Yeah.
I'm getting the flood next week, not, oh shit, bro, it's going to be 2 years, right? Like this stuff has to get engineered up to the point where we can actually deliver some real good stuff to you. And Xeno was nice, right? They showed that they can do it. That was a really nice bump, but they can't leave it in permanently yet.
No, but they brought elements from like Xeno. That's another good example of what they did well. That they took an element from Xeno and brought it into the game to bring some variety to the same old delivery missions that we've had. So I think that was like a positive example of what Todd said of where it did work.
And what they were able to deliver on this, like in the scope of what they can deliver on is we can do these little snap events for you guys.
Yeah.
But we can't do the big permanent always, and hopefully, they hinted at Ninetales coming next. It's kind of that roaming, maybe dynamic one when things start happening, it kicks off on its own. So then we have this reoccurring content, because content-wise, you guys are right. Like, there's no gameplay. There are 2 gameplay loops right now. Missions. Like, who cares about the specifics of it? It's just missions. So they're PvE missions. Doesn't matter what you do. There's a sub one of PvP, which doesn't really work unless both sides are willing to engage in it. So I'd rather just have an area that I could go to where people are willing to engage in it, which unfortunately happens to be PO. Because it's really close to Daymar, and Daymar is really fun to fly on. It's like a fantastic low-flying place, right? Like, if you're going to go low-flying, that's where you're going. Yesterday I had a great gameplay loop. I was low-flying there in my Mustang Gamma because I like flying that ship. It's fun, right? Like, it flies very differently in Atmo. It's not a bad ship to fly. A guy came in on a 600i. He was flying terribly at Shubin. I'm like, you're landing at Shubin? Ooh, immediately I assumed it was a PvPer. Then I saw how terrible he was. So then I just followed him in. He landed. He couldn't land on the pad. He damaged his ship. So I landed. I used VoIP. I talked to him. And then I jumped into his ship and I landed it for him and got it repaired for him and talked to him a little bit. And he was trying to get this dragonfly because he hadn't been back for ages.
Did you talk to him in VoIP?
Yeah, I use it all the time. I'm the VoIP king, I think. I think I'm the VoIP king because I figured
I'm trying to be. Nobody answers me back. The one guy who asked me to answer me back called me an asshole.
You unfortunately have some celebrity status too, right, bro? So You have some people that target on your back too, and people who love you and then fanboy out, maybe, etc. Right? Like it's hard for me not to fanboy out with you because I am a fanboy of SaltEMike, right? Man, it sucks. It's weird.
What do you think about? This is something I remember from yesterday's stream when we were talking about the subject, and with Darklaw just rating the stream. Thank you for doing that, by the way. The Darklaw is a good example of a situation where they do this well and could do it better. Darklaw doesn't actively go out and PvP other players. He puts the bounty on his head and allows them to come to him, and then he kills them as they come. Remember counter missions? Why?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we utilize that? Like, the one thing that I think is that could really come with the reputation system in the very next patch, like it seems like it's super logical and could happen, is if you're doing a lot of bounties, then the Ninetales put a bounty on your head, and then it's the opposite end.
Exactly, and the only reason why we can use that game, like the problem I hate with the bounty system is that there's no opposite for it. So as soon as I take a bounty on someone, they should get notified that I'm on them, and then if they want to engage in it, then they counter it, right? And then I get notified that, oh, Darklaw is now after you. Crap your pants and run, right?
Yeah.
Going back to Dark, because he's one of my favorite, actually. I've been probably subscribed to him the longest out of everyone here. In the community, but I think honestly Dark is a great example of a missed opportunity of CIG not paying him, right, and giving him some extra accounts to be a character within the universe. For right now, they can't do a lot, but you guys do this. You guys are essentially already delivering this value. So maybe they're like, they'll do it for free, but I don't think so. But, this is product mentality. I'd love to see them engage in it a little bit. Yeah, I know. But I think they should pay for it, right? Like they could. Not maybe they should, but they could engage in that and try out some gig economy models, right? They seem to be creative with their business models already.
I don't think they should.
I don't know. Maybe they shouldn't, but at least their own community team.
There should be like think from this perspective, because you're being like you're a fan of Dark, right? So that like you're coming from that perspective, but you have to think of it this way. If think of somebody you're not a fan of, whether it's a Star Citizen streamer or not or whatever. But if Star Citizen took your backer money and invested it on that at the stage that the game is at right now, I would explode. If they gave me money, I would not accept it, because the backlash that would come from that is insane, and it would be deserved.
I completely agree with you on that. Okay. I'm talking in a green box situation. Let's say a magical scenario where we're at a state where the community wouldn't be pissed at this. Yeah. But let's say they brought some of you guys into their own event planning. Like they could just do event planning, right? They don't even need a lot of game systems. They have a little bit of extra control on us so they can see stuff that we can't.
They tried. I was there. I was a part of 2 of them. They tried, and it's. I'm telling you, man. The state of this game, it's just not.
Well,
we're not there.
I agree with on that too. Yeah, it'd have to be super simple. That's why I mean, like at this level, all they could do is call you and say, because you can sit on another server and call someone on another server and see all that.
Yeah.
That's all they could really do, and give you a little like nudge here and there, or like, yo, this guy's in jail. We need you to get him out, and it's
Yeah.
They reach out to you. That type of stuff.
I think
coordinating
really simple
touch points.
Really simple thing would be the counter missions they used to do, and they kind of do them, but not great. Like when somebody,
one of my favorite gameplay,
like the ECN thing when somebody's hacking. That's one.
Yeah,
but
that's a great one.
But it's tough to get there before they finish, so there could be something done there. Like there's a lot of things that are in the game that could be utilized somehow better. Why is the beacon system thrown in but then not utilized much? Is it just a building blocks problem? Could be, right? So for me, this just like there's so many whys that came out of that 2-minute clip that are, and the answers to those whys are the sole answers to why Star Citizen is in the state that it's in, and why players who want to interact with the game more, players like myself and players who play the game more consistently, are unhappy with the state of it. It's all in that 2-minute clip.
like without giving us a universe and ability to focus up and connect with people in game where we're going to meet the ones they're like, the best they could do right now is a matchmaking and whitelisting service, which I think would be cool. Like, it'd be great if I could, at least if the game I was trying to get into a server would go, oh, hey, Mike's there, this person's there, blah, blah, blah. You've touched points with them all over. I'm going to try to put you into their server. Done. Right? Just kind of route me to people that I have touch points. Right now, it's just a giant mess. Right? I'm not saying matchmaking. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we'd implement it. But right now, it's just a crapshoot of who you get into the server with. And it's a completely crapshoot of people who will interact with you. Because don't get me wrong. For every one person that talks back to me, I have 9 that won't.
Yeah.
Right? That might type in chat.
Yeah.
But I do have a lot of interactions, and I find it pretty regular. But it might be time slots, it might be whatever, right? But it is some days nothing, and some days I'm like, I go out looking for it and I can't find it. But if I don't go looking for it, it bumps into me, and that is.
But it's worth it when it happens, right? Like I really enjoy interactions with a random player. Sweet.
Like one of the comments on that, your last ATC was from someone that I did that with, and it was like it was the best gameplay I had, right? Because Johnny just jumped up. I just danced with the guy, and then we did a box delivery, and we screwed around with corpses in space, and I just joked with them and gave them some dialogue, but they got to use systems in the game that people don't usually use, and VoIP was one of them. Anyway, I'm gonna jump off here and give you extra time and prove you wrong.
Oh, see, you're just looking at the stream and know you have 5 minutes left, but you can keep going. I know you can.
I could, but I don't want to today. I think that you guys have covered really good on, like, the 2 first callers were fantastic on breaking down the tech issues and stuff. And it really is that. And Todd, man, his eyes as a product manager, I felt so bad for him. His eyes are, he wants to give you guys this fire hose of content, but he can't. And he can't really say that he can't. But he can kind of hint that he can't, but he doesn't want to, you have to do it really dance. And whatever, that's the business hustle.
It hurts because Todd's one of the people that work at the company that I've met in person and spoke to as just a normal human being, not this backer developer situation. And when people go hard on Todd, it bothers me more than other people because I know the person. I know that they don't want to do like that. It just sucks. It just sucks to see because like they're people and they're. Like they get called incompetent or they're lying or they're hiding something in this, and it's just hard to see.
Well, and what's frustrating about it is it's a very disingenuous position from the person saying that, because then you are literally interacting with this amazing tech demo, and sure, it's just a tech demo. Space Cutlet brought up on Dark's stream earlier today, like, why were trolleys in? He's like, it's just to test a game system. Full stop. There's no gameplay loop with this. There's nothing to talk about with it. It's super boring, right? If they just, they have to kind of hint that, oh, well, trolleys let us do this, but we don't know exactly yet because we don't really talk about it because we haven't tightened it up yet. But if we set that expectation, blah.
Yep.
I think they're doing a wonderful job, and they're trying to manage it. And I would love to see them step out a little bit more. And sure, running events may be a shit show. I'm going to, attempt it myself. And I know it's a shit show because I've done it for DayZ. I've done it for DayZ and stuff too, and I know. And in these environments, you have to build into your event the fact that it may just fail.
Yep.
Right? And that's it. No big deal. And then you go into the next one, and you try again, and you try again, and you try again. And then either you get frustrated and give up, or you take a break. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, bud.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
As always, love chatting with you guys. Cheers, man.
Later, dude. All right. That was OldManJohnnyMorgan. OldManJohnnyMorgan. That was good. The thing about the streamers and supporting them and that kind of stuff is tough. I think that there's just some in-game wins that we could maybe get, but I think they have to be small. They have to be things like counter missions. They have to be things that are possible to be done in game now with very little technical hurdles. And I would be somewhat satisfied with what we have. I'm looking forward to 314 and see what we do with that. We only have one more caller on the line, so I'm gonna get his name in there for us, and then we'll get going. So, yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man, that one statement just sent my mind everywhere. Because I really think all the answers are behind that one question of why are these things not being prioritized or whatever. and I feel like they don't communicate that. That's where the communication suffers. But Flare, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's up? Not bad, not bad. Just lurking around, same as always. As you said, there is not much gameplay to, fiddle around. Just buggy and messy stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, I just wanted to add on the discourse that you're having today is that, to be honest with you, like CIZ haven't had developed any of their tech to a point that they could call they could call, okay, we have the template, and then we can move forward. If you think about it, even the planet tech is not at a level where they can develop the mesmerizing exotic planets that they have planned for. They don't have yet roads or rivers or even like foliage in a way that they can develop those forest type of cities.
Yeah.
So even that, like they're still working on it, right?
Sure.
And not only that, like the biggest thing about is, as you said, is the expectation between marketing and the actual people developing the game. For example, in one side, you have the people that are coding. They would rather, not have a live service, right? And
Yeah.
just fix all their issue, make a template, and do it.
Sure.
I think this is one of the, if not the only company, right, that are actually developing a train that is moving, and while it is moving, they're asking money, to pay for the next train, stop or something.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think in a way. So I feel like what happens, why priority shifts a lot, is that whenever there is, let's say, a lot of complaint from the community, I don't know if you realize, then suddenly videos about the the Merchantman or the cool ships that they left in concept long time ago surface up back again, because they need to, calm down in a way from the marketing side, the community, so that they can keep working. And then they
but that is
suddenly
the
get
only
left.
way to get the answers that you want from, and that is a big part of their problem with communication. Is
Exactly.
the only way to get answers, like the reason the Squadron 42 video came out, which was total trash. Like that concept was awful because they don't want to show the answers of what the community wants because they don't have the answers for what the community wants. But instead of just saying it or just being more open, they do some dumb shit like that, and then here we are. So that's one of the big things is if you want the answer to why Todd Pappy said what he said, then I would have to create a Reddit thread, get it upvoted with 1,000 upvotes, have multiple threads on Spectrum talking about it, then they would do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like
That's
when
the
there is no
problem.
drama, right? Like they don't find the motivation, to straight up answer it.
Because it's
But
irrelevant.
in a way, like in a way, it's actually marketing, right? Like, are you gonna, say, oh, it's going bad and bad and bad, and ruin the money income that is coming, or make it in a way that you can sort of still going on, right? Only if the community is like complaining a lot, then you give them a straight answer.
Yeah. I'm just the perspective that I'm coming from isn't necessarily like why does priority shift. I understand why priorities shift, and I understand like why something like salvage has moved down the roadmap throughout the years, not just years. And the thing that Todd's statement made had nothing to do with professions or medical gameplay or planets. It had everything to do with the fact that this is a game that you can play while it's being developed. And it feels like the play part it is just not getting enough attention. Just slightly. My expectations are very low. But I still think they're not being met because we literally just have delivery missions and bounty missions.
This is where the template part comes in. I think, as you realize, and I'm seeing it from 2016, CIZ loves a lot to use the word procedural or, like dynamic, right? They want to make everything modular. They don't want to make,
Systematic, right?
like, Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
They don't want to make a handmade, right? But rather something that they can use a seed random generation number one day so that it can automatically produces content that they require.
Mhm.
And this is from a design perspective or coding perspective is very hard, right? Like, because you have to make sure every use cases is respected and every scenario works and function. And this is what they've been doing on and on for a long time. I think even themselves, they didn't expect how long it will take. Even now, we can't see the template set up yet. For example, as you said, we have the beacon system, right?
Yep.
But in a way, they're not utilizing it because, as you can see, most of the time when you go to trade cargo, it's not reactive, it's not fast enough. Why? Because the database system is not working for them. That's why, where iCache comes in. So every time they try to do something, they develop a bit, but then they are looking at it in another perspective, saying, oh, the underlying tech that we require to actually move on and advance, the tool we developed is not there yet, right? So one is for, someone said about the physics
Yep.
that is not working, but also it's not like CIG is not using the best server available from AWS. When we had the dev of stock, they did say that whenever there is a latest services coming out of AWS, we use that one.
Yeah.
So they are actually using the maximum performance that the cloud service can provide, but for the game, because it's not a stationary game or even in car game, like the maximum speed you're going maybe is 200 kilometers per hour. Here we're going at 1,000 kilometers per hour. At that speed, coping with the physics working accurately, plus everybody lives different places, everyone has a different internet connection, everyone has like different net speed, and making sure that all that works in conjunction with the speed requirement for the game is already a beyond imaginable problem to solve for them. And meanwhile, they have to also make live service people happy, right? So they have to make contents that that are not like for future, more like just to make people happy for now, right?
Yep,
In a
sure.
way. So what happens, because what I realized by looking this year and last year mostly from their post-mortem, is they actually, obviously they are not dumb. Like Todd Puppy developed every single God of War game, right? Except the last one because he was here.
Yeah.
So he's he's a legend, you could say, in a way, right? Like these people know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And in the post-mortem, if you read it, right, it actually tells them, okay, we understand this is the problem and what we can do in future. But then again, what's happening is that now that they have a lot of project managers and that bashing you around saying, hey, why is not that done? All they're doing is that they have a deadline to achieve, and they're trying to just tick a box in a way. That's what sort of feels like to me for gameplay. That okay, we have to have this by 3.13. We will have it, but is it fully playable? Is there like many bugs? We will look at it like later on in the next pass.
But we
But
ticked
for
our
now, we
box,
can
so
make
we're good.
exactly, yeah.
But and that's
This is
and if you were developing the game behind the scenes, that would work, right? But if you're developing a game that we're playing, that's where it doesn't.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why, like, it's not like they don't want to, right? But the way the funding model works is actually nearly borderline impossible, to make sure,
Of course.
everyone is happy.
And we're
But
experiencing that. The
but
type
one thing,
of
like I've
the type
noticed,
of player I
Go on,
am,
sorry.
it's okay. Just the type of player that's gonna be unhappy the most is the type of player that I am for this game. Number one, like streamer needs content, right? Like doesn't
Exactly, yeah.
have any. That's number one, like the most obvious one. But the real reason is I want to play games, and I want to play games that developers make. I don't want to really have to make my own. I think that's not what I'm interested in. I want to play through a game and enjoy it, and I don't get to. Where other players who fall on the more positive side of the Star Citizen community, their interests don't seem to align with mine. Their interests seem to be more aligned in like community aspects and things like that, and that's why they're happy and I'm not. And like I get in this box and I'm labeled as this miserable person, but in reality it's just what I want versus what you want. You already have what you want and I don't.
Exactly. If you think about it in this way, for streamers, you cannot get dull, right? Like if you get dull on your content that you're providing to your viewers, you will lose a lot of viewers as well. It will
Yeah.
get boring soon enough, right? Like if you don't have new things happening, maybe
Yep.
monthly basis or stuff.
Yep.
And for you, like it's extremely painful, right, to play a game where you're just trying your heart out to make content for the community, make sure everyone gets engaged, make sure everyone loves what you love, right? Like to showing off Star Citizen, another game. But they're not allowing you the possibility to do so. They're just giving you like promises, which I have to be honest, like I think they do believe in their promises, but it's just they are not able to deliver, right? Like in a given amount of time, which
I
is
believe in their
in a
promises
way,
too. It's just they're the time. Yeah, it's the timeline.
And also in my side, meanwhile, like for example, I studied robotics and AI with optimization.
Okay.
I just like to see these kind of things develop because when I read their, the report, what they're doing in the engine every month or the postmortem, it's actually blows my mind, like how they're even able to achieve this kind of feats. Because not many people are doing it. Like you could say ED is doing it, but it is doing a completely different thing. If you look at the actual progress or how they're doing it or what they're scheming and stuff. So you can't obviously compare, two products that are not borderline similar or not even using the same engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and from that perspective, I don't mind, but I can totally view from the perspective of backers that started even at 2013. What are you going to say to them, right? Like for them, the game was supposed to come out at 2016. Now we are at 2021.
Yeah.
But thankfully, at least last year and this year, we saw that they actually are having modular templates that they can reuse. For example, mining template. Mining template is being reused now everywhere. Like now people know how to use their the UI tag that they developed. In fact, I think it was Dan Truffin that said that one of the best thing I think we learned is how to use the UI, like how to quickly develop the refinery UI. And now they can quickly do. I'm actually amazed how quickly they developed the UI for, let's say, the docking system, right?
Yeah.
Like that was pretty fast.
Yeah.
And now from there, they even mentioned, hey, we are going to use the same thing for oil as well. I think oil refueling or whatever they talked about. And if you think about it from the other perspective about, I think now we have those multi-tools, right? Like that can help you drag the cargo.
Sure.
That will be used in a way for salvaging. That will be used. That's used for mining. And now they will use the same concept for healing as well, right?
Yeah.
So all of their design concepts are actually sort of coming out. But now their biggest problem, the backer, is the database is not fast enough. So they have to get somehow iCache done, or like for different services have because what's essentially iCache is, if I understood correctly, it's a database in memory essentially. So it's much easier or quicker to update, to store, and to retrieve. And they also have benefits of that. If the data is lost, it can be regenerated and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what any gameplay needs, right? Like you said about making mission with body dragging or getting harvestable, right?
Sure.
Not like randomly, but because of the mission planning it. But imagine you're going there, right? And the database is not reactive enough. We can see from discovery mission where sometimes there is no body lying around, right? For you to find, even though it says there is one, right? So what will happen is the mission wouldn't work because you can't find the body to drag, or it will desync, or even for the harvestable, right? Like maybe
and then we blame Todd Pappy for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not his fault, right?
I know.
I think one thing I've realized from years watching video is no joke, but working as an engineer for Star Citizen must be actually fun because, to be honest, this project manager actually gives you a lot of time, right, to do R&D, to develop and everything. So Todd Pappy, in a way, he's just overviewing. It's not like he's not coding, right? He's giving time to the devs to go and see the problem, to solve it. And obviously it's not easy. And between that and then having the marketing team that promising, oh yeah, we're going to have it ready, it's going to be fleshed out, is very hard, right? So he wants to say stuff. I think I saw the evolution of ThoughtPuppy throughout the years as well. Before he used to mention at all, guys, it's an alpha, it's
Yeah.
alpha, so obviously it's gonna be like that. But now he doesn't mention it anymore either, because the marketing is selling as a live product, while they are viewing it as a alpha, and so it just clashes. So he would rather give, like as you said, answers that doesn't say anything, right? Like that
Which
just
is what
shows
he's
you
getting flack for right now, and
exactly.
that comes down to that falls on Jared a little bit, I feel like, or whoever is making the video content or the communication platform between backer and player is like, or between dev and the backers is like, if this is what it's going to be, we maybe shouldn't be doing it.
I totally agree with that. Also, in fact, I think recently on the videos about women in games, we also saw that they have a lot of data analysts as well.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure all what they do is just get all the data and then they develop in turn, what the marketing team should say or how they should respond, because
Sure.
it's not like they're randomly coming out of it. So somewhere along the line, there is truth as well, but they are trying to, in a way, mitigate the possibility that people think, oh, this game sucks, so we shouldn't back it anymore, And as you said, like they definitely need many ships per year to keep up the funding model. And because I don't know if you saw recently, they're buying a new office in Frankfurt, right, for 10-year lease.
Yeah.
And then now they have a new studio with Turbulent in conjunction in Montreal, where they have around 100 devs or more.
Yep.
And those cost a lot of money, right? Like at least I'm guessing you have to pay like $30,000 per year for a normal average dev, right? So imagine needing to fund that on a game that is not
way more than that. I make more money than
exactly.
that.
Yeah, I'm just like giving you like the least possible amount you should give, but yeah, like all that costs money, and it's not like they have so much money saved on the background to be able to continue for years. I think they sort of realize that. That's why they're pushing hardcore for Squadron 42. They want the episodic development to be a hit, so that maybe they can make at least around 50-60 millions from the development of that, which in turn will further develop the game. In fact, like from the progress tracker, if you see, all of the actual future team are both like like intertwined with PU and Squadron 42. So it's not like they're developing something that is solely for the purpose of that. But there are a few things that they do solely for Squadron 42, which are the animation team. Because I think, I don't know if you read like recently in the latest few months, the report, they keep talking about they're building their own in-house mock-up tech, to be able to quickly make mock-ups of mission. It could be for dynamic mission, it could be for Squadron 42, so that they are able to deliver animations or scenes much quicker. So I think they're trying to make everything in-house because they saw how bad it goes when they have development with other studios like Fireflies or whatever they're doing now.
Yeah.
So I think doing in-house is better, but again, that means that you have to make from scratch stuff that already exists. Maybe you can reuse it or not.
Yeah.
But overall, I think this year, if they can if they can deliver at least 70% of the stuff that they are showing on the release view, right? So salvage tier 1, healing that is coming soon, and then the physicalized inventory, that will be, I think, great and a good step showing that they are indeed making progress. But I
True.
do believe, as you said before, that server meshing is not going to happen like this year at all. Like from as you said, how
chance.
no chance.
No
like
chance.
how
And
Jared
even when it does
responded
happen,
as well.
It doesn't.
It's not gonna
It's not
make
gonna
a difference.
It might make
Right.
It might make a difference, but it might not be what everybody is
Exactly,
holding
like-
on to it to be.
Yeah.
Like it is the dream kind of thing,
Like it will take time. It will need time to develop to reach a point where then it might make a difference, right? Like before that, is no shot is not gonna instantly give you 100 FPS. But
Agreed.
I'm very hopeful that if they can at least get the Gen 12 renderer done, right, which is what they are stating as something that helps you utilize better your core on your computer. So better CPU will have, better performance technically you could get. I think that in a way could at least mitigate some of the problem we're having now. While for gameplay, they do require a better database, which is iCache. God knows when it comes. I don't know if you realize, like they removed those cards from the release view. Now all they're saying is that we work on them, on a quarterly basis, and whenever a service comes, we just put it online.
Which is
So
way
I think,
better. It's so like
yeah.
to have them in the release view and to set an expectation for the community on those
Exactly,
specific things is just dumb. It's just dumb.
Yeah, see, this is what I mean. They do try to
Yeah.
accommodate for their errors and to make everybody happy.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Like it's hard, and at least now they have a clue on how to do the server meshing T0 at least, and they're looking forward to it. I think that's the best place we have ever been on the on the progress of the Star Citizen game. Because before people were like, they can never do server meshing, or no way they can do that with this kind of fidelity. But now we're seeing that they're actually having the design template done, and they're starting to work on it. Right? They will face problem, yes, but at least now we are in a position where we can say that this is not a scam anymore, right? And they will go somewhere. But
True.
the question is, are they going to go somewhere before people get fed up, or can they actually reach before, much faster?
True. I just gave you 30-second timer because randomly 3 people just showed up to call in.
No problem.
So I'm not.
I'm sorry if I took your time longer than I should have.
No, I let you. It was a great call, and I let you keep going because you looked like you were the last caller, and then all these people just showed up. So we're gonna give them a couple minutes each, but it just comes down to like, come to the show on time, and you'll get the most amount of time. But the reason I'm not even locking the room and going on to finish the show is because we started the show quite early today. We're only 42 minutes into what the show would have started at on a normal day. So Flare, thank you so much for your call, and yeah, man, that was awesome. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so that was really sweet. So thank you to Flare for that one, man. That was sweet. Any claps or drakes in chat? I prefer drakes, but you guys like to type claps. I don't know why. You're not memey enough, I guess. But anyway, the next caller is Boocha, who's a really active member of our Discord. And there were some people that were like, "Oh no, Boocha is going to be here." So we'll see how this call goes. I'm excited to hear from him. He's very, very active on our Discord. So let's see. Good. Hello, Boocha. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
All right.
So, to be forward, I'm not here to make you feel better about the state of the game, but maybe I can help explain a couple of things.
Okay.
So, if we're talking about why we're not seeing more gameplay being introduced into the live service product, right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. So, we're looking at really a case of, as many people before have come talking to you about this issue. It's a case really of, CIG is dealing with both background development and live product services, and so I think one of your previous talkers was talking about building the train tracks as the train is moving along, and from a development standpoint, when you're dealing with 2 different kinds of development teams, like the live service team and the background development team, it is really hard to make those 2 guys sync up, because you have the background development team that is trying to really rebuild the engine, whether you want to call it CryEngine or if you want to call it Lumberyard. And one of the biggest problems in game development is that when you're using an engine of any sort, you are kind of beholden to what that engine builder built that game for.
Mm-hmm.
And, sort of like, CryEngine was built for Crysis and Far Cry. Large one-map systems and fidelitous graphics, but, and integrated physics. Now, another point that somebody else brought up earlier was that physics is central to the Star Citizen experience. Everything relies on physics. And you have a lot of systems that interact with these physics systems. And you have the background developers having to figure out, okay, do we need to rewrite our second level physics calculator? Because I remember long ago, the CIG was talking about, we built this physics simulation on top of the existing one because the existing one wasn't giving us the results that we wanted to.
32-point precision or whatever, right?
Well, not just not just like the bit precision. It was like the literal physics code that object in motion, object at rest kind of stuff.
Okay.
Because that was built deep into CryEngine, and it's built deep into Lumberyard too. And you have a secondary physics code on top of that your background developers are still trying to figure out, okay, what other systems do we need to do? And you have your live service guys saying, well, this is obviously broken, so you guys need to fix this now before we do anything else. So we have two very different priorities going on.
Sure, you're not telling me anything that I don't know at this point, though. Like, this is all obvious stuff. But I'm not asking for them to do anything drastic. I'm asking for them just to either communicate why something quote-unquote simple couldn't be considered a priority, or bridge the gap between we worked on it, we developed this feature, but we're not adding it to the mission system.
So that has more to do with the priorities of the teams right now, as a lot of people, and we can reasonably assume as well, whatever staggered or agile development that they're trying to do on, say, salvage going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate part about what's going on with a lot of the gameplay loops that are been promised long ago and haven't showed up recently is that there's unfortunately still a lot of back-end stuff to do. And even server meshing, we talk, there's a lot of talk about, once we get server meshing and we can, start the floodgates on a lot of content that we wanted to bring in. And it's not even really that. For a while watching Star Citizen, it has become kind of a theory of mine that we're kind of at the ragged edge of what the engine can handle all at one time.
Obviously.
And and so the easiest thing to do in a game engine is to just create more assets rather than creating more programming assumptions, which would lead into actual gameplay. And what we're looking at, so I'm just going to take salvage as an example. So salvage would have dependencies on an asset to say, okay, is this a destructible asset? What kind of destructibility are we having? Is it physics-enabled destruction, or is it sort of like inertia?
Let me jump in, because this is not what this discussion is about at all. And again, I couldn't give you guys as much time as everyone else. This is not what we're talking about. No. We're not talking about salvage. We're not talking about anything other than what you already have in game and why it's not being integrated in from the mission team. Harvestables, counter missions, armor, that whatever, a gun dropping on the ground, caves. Some things are, some things aren't. That's what we're talking about here. Yeah. And I'll give you another minute or so before we go on to the next caller, because I think you're just getting way too high level and not like this is much simpler than that. I'm not being one of those guys who's like going like, why aren't we prioritizing salvage? Like, I'm not saying that.
Okay. So I would probably say it is a priority. It is a priority workflow thing. I would probably say sort of like the deliverables on sort of like when harvestables came out. Sort of like, hey, we've got this neat little thing we're putting in, and
goodbye.
Yeah. And so that's a problem of sort of the staggered development that we're having right now, is because the team that made that harvestables, well, they're no longer really working on harvestables anymore.
Nope.
They're working on something else right now, and so this constant this constant water wheel of just sort of like just dumping content and then just going away, is because I kind of hate to say it, like even with the team of like 600 people at CIG, sort of like there is a lot of work still left to be done. And when you're talking about sort of like the next big thing, or not just the next big thing, sorry, when you're talking about even simple stuff, sort of like give me a counter bounty on
It's
somebody
more
else.
variety
Why can't I
within
just
current mission content.
The sad fact of the matter is honestly, I just don't think it's a priority right now. That's just it's not going to.
And my argument is
it's not going to change. Yeah, and I would agree with you, and I think honestly that would very much benefit the Star Citizen player base if that was a priority right now. But there's too much work to be done right now. Way too much work. That is unfortunate, but anyway.
All right,
thanks for letting me on.
I appreciate it. I hope we can get you on for more time next time, but I just have real life things that are coming up today, so we got
definitely, sir.
End it a little bit sooner than normal and started it a bit earlier than normal. So my apologies, Boocha, but you are, like everyone, always has a open invitation. So I appreciate it, and I hope we can talk longer next time.
Oh yeah, hopefully with the topic that I'm a little bit more versed in, but
Sure.
Always good.
Sure, man. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so that was Boocha, who did I even change his name? I think I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. And then we have Zane. I don't know if this is Zane Bien or not. We're going to find out. I don't think it is. But that'd be funny. All right, so let's bring on Zane. Zane, can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, I do.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thanks. First time on the podcast.
I know, it's I'm happy to have you here. So, how are you doing? And what do you think about, obviously, let's try to stick to, because we are limited on time, like Todd's statement and what he said and what it means to you, and sort of how me and the rest of the callers have reacted to that statement.
Yeah. So first of all, lots of good calls today.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not easy to add to that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a quick background on me.
Okay.
I study CS2.
Okay.
I've been in modding games, so I'm an armchair developer, self-proclaimed. Right. So the way I see it, I think 80% of the decisions CIG makes totally make sense internally. The ones that really don't make sense, it's the other 20%. And in my opinion, 10% is marketing, and the other 10% is game devs. They don't play the game as much, or they have their end goal in mind. So they say, yeah, whatever, let's not waste time balancing this mess. Let's work on this cool thing that's coming in 6 months, but we don't know it. And so I think the main issue, it comes down to CIG's communication with us, because they don't communicate much of why they make these decisions. And so even those that make sense internally, we don't see it as backers. And
Yeah.
like for instance, physics was brought up twice, and I came in just to talk about that because the reason, in my opinion, why don't we have gameplay in the PU? I think it's two reasons. First, the server can't handle much more stuff than we already have, and the other reason is that they are, it seems at least, that they are on the verge of completing the core framework that that's needed to build those features. So as a dev, building a feature and rewriting it completely in 6 months, in 1 year, it doesn't make sense. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And for me, at least, if I have to work on something and I know I will have to redo it in a short amount of time, I lack motivation to do it at all, because it's like, why would I do that? Regarding physics, like that's one of the things that it kind of got lost with time, because 3 years ago, CR and even before that, it was talked about like 3 times. CR mentioned that the server can't handle much more because the physics engine is locked at 4 threads, and the server they use have like 64 threads, crazy machine. So they could do much more, but they are limited by the physics engine. And he said they were working the physics engine to make it scale much better. And he not promised, but he said that once that the work was done on the physics engine, they would be able to have 200 to 300 players on a single server. I'm amazed nobody talks about it, because I mean this was kind of huge, but it got lost. It was never talked about. The only reference, and I like watch every podcast, every show they release, read all the monthly reports. The only reference about this very crucial piece of tech was like in a monthly report 6 months ago, something like that, where they said they were testing with 30 threads on the servers for physics. But CIG, they never talk about it officially, like on ISC, SCL, or Pillar Talk. So I think there is a lot of core stuff. It's a mixture of they don't want to do it because they're waiting on the core tech, but they don't communicate it very well. And even the core tech we're waiting on, there is a lot of stuff that we don't know where it's at. Like we know Vulkan is coming, we know server meshing is coming, maybe 1 year, 2 years, but like this physics refactor, which was supposedly pretty huge, where is it? We don't know.
Yeah.
So
maybe I don't know. Maybe there was nothing to report in more recent monthly reports, but that's interesting. I don't even. Yeah, like I think one of the parts is about the communication that you mentioned. I think one of the hardest things is you're being communicated to for different things in multiple places. You got the monthly report, you got the shows, you got Spectrum, you got all these places, and it's hard to gather all the information in one place. And I think honestly that's why content creators are so successful, the newsy ones, right? Is because it just makes it more in one spot. But yeah.
Yeah, I think what we're missing right now is something like Pillar Talk, because like we used to have CR every once in a while in SCL or RTV, it was called like that. We used to have the first 2 Pillar Talks. I think they were pretty good because they gave you an idea, or like this is the big stuff we are working on, and this is what we have done. This is the next things we're looking into, and we are really missing that now. Like CR, when he last talked about this physics refactor, he went pretty in depth into the feature, and like even from a technical standpoint. But like we don't do that anymore. We just get these very washed out shows that they either show us something that's coming in the near future, some graphic stuff, and then we have the SCL, like the one from like the last one, where it's basically we're working on it, yeah, eventually in the future we'll look into it. And it's not, as a backer, it's like it's not very compelling to hear, because we've been hearing this kind of stuff for basically years now. If you watch an SCL from 2 years ago and one from now, like you can even mix them up.
Yeah.
It will
Because it would just be the same.
Yeah.
It would literally just be the same. I think we'll end on this because your time is sort of up at this point. Is the when at the very beginning when you said 80% of the things they do are good or whatever, or something at the beginning, like 80% of the things that they're
I think internally they make good decisions. Like they're not stupid. They are competent, but we don't know the reasons, and so for us it doesn't make sense. But the last thing I will say is that the thing I don't condone them, and I think they should improve upon, other than communication, is the really easy stuff, like the jump town. Those kind of really easy fixes, like meta changes, balance changes that could bring some fun into the game, like just with changing a couple of values.
Yeah, like legit. If you don't think it's a good idea, CIG, at least tell us why.
Yeah.
Stop not doing it. If the entire community, a portion of the community is saying like, "Yo, that was fun," and I think most of the community was like, "Yo, that was fun. Can we have that?" While we have, like, these are the small wins that we're talking about here, is the things that you are already capable of doing. And even though it may not be what the grand scale of what Star Citizen will be, at least in the one system with no features and everything is broken, we have something, right? And something to do that's engaging, and that it's just sandboxy. Since we don't have the tools to create it ourselves, can you please help us create it? And that would be the one thing that I would say. But Zane, I think we'll let you go there, and I really appreciate your call, and I hope that at some point in the future we can have you on again to discuss whatever topic is exciting you at that time, because I think our callers today have been great, and you were no exception to that. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Talk to you soon. It sucks to have these guys on a fucking timer because they're really good. All right, our next caller is Crown. Crown, can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going, Mike?
What's up? I got to turn you up a little bit because he was a little loud. And then I am going to be adding your name on there. But yeah, so starting off, what do you think?
Well, honestly, first I want to say the guy Flare who called in, he kept me from clicking on the green room button, because that guy was amazing. So he should be a regular at all times. That guy was great.
Yeah, that was sweet. That was a good call.
But at least my point of view, when it comes to gameplay, I think Star Citizen has a problem with not letting the community inspire the gameplay. And like if you look at like Tarada or Bobatech or a lot of these like low flying guys, that is an entire gameplay loop right there.
Sure.
That's all. That's an entire racing scene. You already have the leaderboard structure outside of Star Citizen, inside the arena commander or the racing scene. You have the tools to give people something to do and make it matter. Because now if you have leaderboards in the game and people are low fly racing, that's a whole swath of things where you can just kind of put the building blocks there and let the community make the content. Because that's what happened with Jumptown, right? Like that's when I joined Star Citizen. Yep. That's where I cut my teeth. There were a lot of the PvP org versus org was out of this world. It was like pretty much 25 on 25 every time you went to Jumptown. And it was for the drug trade, obviously, but that was insane amounts of combat. You were pushing the server to its absolute limits. Everybody was there. It was, people were sneaking into other orgs just to sub them. It was crazy. The gameplay was crazy. And all they did was put a tiny little terminal there and say, hey, look, well, not even say anything, just put drugs in one spot. And the players created an entire community based off of it. Organizations with 800 to 1,000 people were created overnight And it lasted up until like 3.5 when they changed the flight model and the cost of Widow and they added other drug locations. But that it's a flashpoint in the history of Star Citizen. But the reality is that is kind of where Star Citizen has to go, because right now we have three space games that own most of the market share, which is Eve, Elite Dangerous, and No Man's Sky, and they're all three different experiences for the player, right? So Eve has been propped up. Here's an entire universe. You guys figure it out. It's a player-driven economy. There's so much player-driven things in Eve that it gets reported on the news that they have civil wars. Like, it was the most expensive in-game event ever recorded, with the amount of ships that got destroyed, right? And then you have Elite Dangerous, which is more PvE-driven single-player experience. Like, you can go through Elite Dangerous and play the game by yourself from 0 to hero, get a fleet carrier by yourself, and never have to ever interact with another player.
Yep.
And then when there's No Man's Sky, it's just like, look, this isn't a serious space game, but here is an endless universe, and we're just going to keep cramming stuff in there, and we love what you guys are doing, and we love our community. And Star Citizen is really at kind of a point where, what are we going to do? Are we going to cut our cloth from one of these three, or are we going to make our own path?
Well, they're making their own path, 100%. The problem is,
does it feel like it? Like, does it feel like anything matters in Star Citizen?
Yeah, no, of course not. But Star Citizen isn't like all those games you're talking about are now. Star Citizen's
they're
path
finished. I get it. They're finished.
Star
They're
Citizen's
finished,
path
right?
hasn't even. Star Citizen isn't even at a crossroads. They
But that's
know
what
the
I'm
path
saying.
that
That's
they're
what we
going.
need from them. But that's what we need from them. That's the communication has been the key word that's been said all day today, right?
100%.
That is what we
communicate
need
that
from
path, dude.
them.
For like,
What if they? But that's what I'm saying. If you look back, what are they saying the universe is going to be, and what do you have right now that is evidence that we're going that direction?
well, that's the problem. Is the state of the game? It's not their communication for you and for what you want. I feel like is the state of the game and not their communication. I feel like they tell you this big economy sim, nine NPCs for every one player, homesteads, huge planets, space combat, ground combat, atmosphere combat, with NPCs and with other players. Like, what are you looking? You're trying to put Star Citizen in a box that it'll never be in.
No,
and
no,
what's
no,
special
no, no,
about
I
Star
don't-
Citizen is that there is no box.
And I completely agree with you there. But what I'm looking at is where it lacks in gameplay, the players are making gameplay outside of what they've offered us.
Yes.
So why are you not taking that and saying, hey, if this is a community-driven game, community-funded game, why is the community not developing the game as well to an extent of saying, hey, look how many people are doing low flying all of a sudden. Look how popular that's become. Okay, well, we should introduce leaderboards because we already have the tech. We had racing before, so it's not like it's too far of a stretch to bring it back. And then you add some, hey, limit the ceiling on the altitude to a certain thing. And it's right there in front of them. It's like right there. The community is screaming, hey, we'd like to do these things, not what you're making me do with bounty hunting and fighting an NPC who comes out of a spawn closet in the middle of an asteroid, and I have to wait 5 minutes for it to happen because the server doesn't give a damn. Like the what the community is asking for is very, very, very apparent. It's all over Twitter. It's in this show. It's over every single news outlet that comes out. It's there. They're looking from within themselves for the development, which is awesome because they're gamers as well, but they cannot forget that we are also developing this game too. And they need to turn and look outwards and say, look, this is what the community is doing. Let's introduce that. Now, obviously, it's not going to happen overnight because development cycles take forever. And you have a live game being developed beside the actual game at the same time. So they're going to need time, but they need to communicate that, look, the community is saying, we want this, we want this, we want this. And then you introduce something no one's asked for.
Yeah. Let me jump in on you though about low flying.
Yeah. And that's just an example.
I know. And I don't like the example that much. And here's why, is that yes, like Terrada's done cool stuff, and a lot more people are low flying. It's a great way to learn how to fly your ship, so on and so forth. When the vehicle experience team came in, the first thing they did was deal with the cameras so the game can look more like how Terrada makes it look with head tracking. Head tracking has been turned into a priority in development because of these things. So, like, yes, they may not be developing the game Star Citizen to allow for a low-flying race, but my God, from someone who is not someone who is interested in low-flying, it has gotten way more attention than it should be getting.
They cherry-picked the wrong thing out of that, right?
Sure.
I look at the pushback you've gotten from that. You're like, right now, I'm sure everyone in chat agrees with you saying, I don't care about head tracking. I would rather they introduce the racing part. They didn't. They took. You see what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Like they missed.
Agreed.
They missed again. They would suck at a lot of things in life, like Battleship. They just miss on all the wrong. Like they just miss, and it's like, come on, guys. Like we are screaming, give us what we're doing in the game, so when we're doing it, it matters. You know, and that's like, you know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying, man. It's like the answer for gameplay is right here. It's me and you talking. You know, we've spoken a few times before on this show with, like, you know, the large MMO scale, what's happening, where's that at? And, you know, after that conversation, like, we got Invictus. We got all, you know, like, so you know, you do change, you know, the flow of the river, man. Don't think that you don't have any market share in this. This show matters. No, I'm serious, man. This show matters, man. If you look back at the conversations you've had that have had really, really large effects on the community, the direction has changed, and we've gotten results about 6 months later. I'm not bullshitting you.
Yeah, but I think that's more because we're discussing them because they're a popular community topic to discuss. I think it's an overall
I got it. I'm just saying, you're important, man. You know, and this show is important. Everyone in chat is important. And, you know, what we're talking about today is very important because gameplay is us. We are the gameplay, not me dealing with an NPC, not some chopped up mission, you know, delivering multiple boxes. I'm not, this is not Amazon in 2951. I don't care. Like, I let us develop the game by taking what we're doing live in game and bringing that into the fabric of the game.
Yeah, I agree with that to some extent, but if they spend too much time developing so we can make the game, then we lose the game that they should be making. So
again, this is why we're having this conversation, though, because
absolutely. But it seems like where you're going is a little bit too much.
Well, again, this is a conversation right now. You know, like, you know what I mean? This is just my aspect because I care about the game, right? Like I'm all in on the game. I want to see it succeed. My thing is, you know, take what the community is doing and run with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, run with it, man. We asked for, like, honestly, we asked for PvP or PvE bounty missions outside of Hurston like a year ago. Like, that became a thing for a little bit. Like, we're tired of doing bunker raids. Well, now we're doing cave raids.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's one step forward. Well, maybe we can do assassination missions in the middle of Microtech, and then you can add the survival aspect in, you know, because now it's cold outside and you're hunting one. Like, there's so much that they can just, like, look at the community input and say, damn, that's a good idea. Run with it.
I think you're on a point, and let me, like, flip it and say it in a different way. Every quarter they should be taking a little bit of time and a small bit of time and experiment. Jumptown seemed like it was an experiment that succeeded, and then they experimented again to go, like, let's spread it out a little bit more and see what happens. So a player who actually does want to be involved in the drug trade can be, and it doesn't have to be this multi-crew, multifaceted, like, tons of people fighting. And that experiment destroyed everything, and it failed. It failed. Yeah, it failed like face plant fail, right? Yes. But it doesn't seem like they're experimenting anymore. I saw Alyciana typing in chat, who's been on the show before, and I've referenced a few things that she said today already, but this was one of the ones that was like, boom, light bulb went off. You have security post Korea. We used to have caches there. Why not just place boxes in Security Post Korea, NPCs in the station who spawn in occasionally. So it's not just a PvP scenario, but it could be a PvE scenario. Kill those NPCs, take those boxes. Once players know that this is a place where you can actively get fights, that's going to create a PvP scenario because players are going to go there and try to make money, so on and so forth. These are things that exist. The boxes exist. The ability to sell the items in the box exists. The NPC spawning exists. Done. Like these, I'm not asking anybody to do anything crazy. That could be the next Jump Town. What could else be the next Jump Town? Does it have to be a PvP scenario? Maybe not, right?
Yeah.
Like there's tons of things that could happen, but they just need to fiddle and experiment each patch. And I think that's sort of what we're trying to say.
Like you're referencing with SPK, right?
Yeah.
That used to be a beacon for PvP because you had to. That was the only terminal you could hack.
Yep.
Right. So you would hack Korea, and you would stand there knowing that someone is about to bust through one of these openings and murder me while I hack. And you had to stand within that little area.
And it was one of these openings, not the singular opening that is super easy to defend. Yep.
So what they did was they took that and they added more security locations, right?
Yep. Another faceplant.
To an extent, but they never altered the server-wide notification that you are hacking this terminal.
Yeah.
Right. So now it's a little bit of travel time, but if I can jump across town and get there in time, I can still kill you while you're hacking your.
Yep.
I can still do. You can still do that. So, do people do it? No. You go to prison, you log out, come back the next day. Right. You just completely circumvent that whole gameplay loop. But it's still technically they stretched it and it didn't break, but they stretched it and no one cared.
Yeah. Back to the drawing board. Another experiment.
Exactly.
That's what's got to happen.
I would like to see them do this again. Like I've been in your chat before when you've agreed where they need to introduce, finite. They need to start introducing those gold rush moments in the game where it's like, don't tell anyone. Let some guy out there scanning, breaking rock, find some sort of rock that's never been in the game, and now there's a gold rush to this planet, to this location, and the players generate the content.
Yep.
Just like the match and let the fire spread. Let it become viral. Because that's what happened with Jump Town.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey guys, there's a singular drug location we're introducing. It was, holy crap, hey, I know it was community-driven information.
They don't share that
it was through the
info.
grapevine.
That stuff's not in patch notes.
And they should start doing that. Just introduce those gold rush moments. So now that's on everyone's mind. That's when the organization that we are, because the org mentality has been abandoned from what I've experienced.
Yeah. Right.
Like orgs used to be it. That was how you survived in Star Citizen for a while. Was having. I have my Discord. I have like 18 orgs on here that are completely dead because PvP has changed, right? Like the drug trade died and they died with it. And then now there are different orgs that exist where they only do mining. They only do this. They only do that. So, it's to me, Star Citizen is in a weird place. They need to clarify and communicate. This is where we want to take the game. Okay. We want it to be story driven where you're doing, you're getting introduced into the universe and this is the same kind of track that you do. And then we release you into the open. Or are we going to drop you in like No Man's Sky and just say, hey man, good luck? Or is it going to be where you have to rely on the game to give you money and give you information to go places like it is an Elite, but there is no fabric for you to change.
There's newsflash, man. It's all three of those.
And that would be great.
It's all three.
But we just need that visualization, right? Because we get a lot of information.
But it's not those things now. That's the thing, and it's not going to be those things for a long time. And I think the point of a lot of the shows that we do and a lot of the conversations that we have are like, well, what can we do now? We know what it's going to be later. It's going to be a big deal later, but what can we do now? And I would say, Crown, just final thoughts before we let you go on this. Just 'cause
Okay, I'm sorry, man.
I'm short on
you
time.
got.
You're
I'm
good,
not
man.
gonna lie, man. I was cutting my grass, dude, and I was like, "Holy crap, ATC's on!" So half my grass is cut right now.
Yeah, go
I ran
cut your
inside.
grass.
But I'm just saying, man. Final thoughts. Honestly, it's about you, man. The show is great. Everyone in chat is great. Your community is great. CIG should be. They should all be sitting down, listening to this show every Sunday, because you're the only platform that allows for the community to say what they feel, how they feel, and it's unfiltered. So that's my closing thoughts. Gameplay will come as long as we all stick together as a community and we stay on their ass. It will change. So you have a great weekend. Have a great Sunday.
Brown, enjoy cutting your grass. I'll see you later, man. Thank
All
you.
right,
It was a
brother.
great call, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
appreciate our
You have a good
discussion.
one.
And again, like with everybody else today, I hope we have it again.
Will do.
Later, bro. So that'll do it. That was Answer the Call Sideways View edition. Let me know what you thought about the side view camera for this specific show. I can easily change it. I just didn't, so we'll do that the next time. But yeah, I thought this was one of the best shows we've ever had in terms of like callers and everything. The shows just keep getting better and better and better, and it's nuts. So yeah. Like that is like the hill I will die on in Star Citizen at this moment. There is no hill other than this one to die on. There are some simple wins for players that want to play the game and not want to join up with friends in the game that can be achieved easily. And like actually easily, not like just make salvage, it's so easy kind of comments. And yeah, like I will die on that hill, and I'm going to stay on it, and I'm going to put a little camp, and I'm going to build on that hill. And as much as it is the physics, it is the performance, it is so many other reasons why Todd just has to sit there and throw up his hands and say, we're working on it. I feel like there's some wins that we can get, and they're not going to be great. They're not going to be perfect. But at the very least, I want to see CIG experimenting on trying to achieve those wins. And it feels like, specifically with 3.13 and maybe as far back as 3.8, those experiments have all but kind of stopped. So emerging gameplay is important and allow us to try and figure out how to engage with each other more in an environment where there's 50 players and the world is big. You know, understand if the game is a live service, you have to understand the game that you are now as well as the game that you are going to build, and they're not focusing enough on what the game is now. So those are my final thoughts. The calls were amazing. This was the best show I've had in terms of callers ever. I think there were no just like total out there crazy ones, and that was great. So thank you so much for watching. If you caught the show halfway through, specifically on Twitch, because I started it almost an hour early today, just because I have some I'm gonna go out on a date with my wife. We haven't done anything in a while, so we're gonna go outside somewhere and have a nice day. Because I've been working like a dog and we haven't seen each other. So I started things a little bit early, and I apologize. So if you missed half of the show or whatever, it'll be live on YouTube later today. So thank you for watching, guys. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to stop by and be on the call, just check out our Discord, !Discord in Twitch chat, or check out the link in the description down below. And come by live, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, starting at around 10 a.m. Eastern time. Today it was earlier. And, I might start them earlier now as well. We'll have to see. And I'll see you guys next week. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.